Okay, here we are at the Arapaho Citrus Management Office. There's the office building, our driveway in off Okeechobee Road. What we have here is a small planting, about an acre or so in size, where we have planted a number of different varieties and basically have tried various things to grow them through HLB greening. And for the past few years, our program has been based on a controlled release fertilizer called CitraBlend from Everest. It's an Osmocote type product that has all of the required nutrients in the fertilizer. And that's it. So they haven't been receiving any foliar sprays of any kind. We've been testing slow release fertilizer basically. And what we found is that many varieties actually are performing very well with only the slow release fertilizer and water and an occasional herbicide, mow. But that's it. No foliar sprays at all. We're not saying that the best way to grow commercial citrus is to not spray it. Rather, what we're interested in is the natural tolerance of a variety to HLB if we can resolve some of the nutritional problems that the trees have once they're infected. So every one of these trees is infected with HLB, and as we walk through, you're going to be able to see what kind of condition they're in. The part of the tree that transports nutrients up from the roots is the xylem. And the xylem is not compromised by HLB. That's working okay. The part that moves the fertilizer that it has stored in the tree from old leaves, the old dark green leaves have stored fertilizer in them, to the young flush, is the phloem. And the phloem is the place where the HLB bacteria live, and that's the part that's plugged up. So what we think is happening is this young flush that's coming out on these trees is now being supplied directly with fertilizer from the roots. It's not bypassing through the old leaves to be stored and then remobilized. And that appears to be the secret as to how the trees are able to utilize this slow release fertilizer in working around the effects of HLB. And it's really the only thing that can explain it, because as you'll see, these trees have absolutely no symptoms of HLB at all. There's not an HLB symptom on them. Many of the varieties, some of them do, which we'll talk about later. But for these tolerant ones, they're growing perfectly normally, as near as we can tell, or at least normal enough to produce a good crop of fruit. So you may ask, what are we doing about psyllids if we're not spraying anything? And the answer is we've released Tamarixia radiata, the parasitic wasp. And what we end up seeing is that the Asian citrus psyllid gets on the young flush as it first emerges, lays eggs, the nymphs form, and then the wasps just nail them. So you get a little tip curl like you see on these leaves here, which is the consequence of the early feeding by the nymphs around the tip of the leaf. But as soon as the wasps take care of them, then the leaf goes ahead and expands and grows normally. So they're able to generate enough leaf surface to have sufficient photosynthesis for good carbohydrate production. And there are adult psyllids everywhere. It's tempting to control them, but unfortunately, if you spray something for the psyllid, 9 times out of 10 you also wipe out your wasps. So we are following the protocol, which is to allow nature to take its course, and we're not controlling psyllids in any way. In spite of that fact, another Valencia row here. You can see the trees look very healthy, good crops of fruit, Nothing wrong here. You wouldn't really want to change a thing in this particular part of the planting. A word about slow release. It's expensive. Generally, for a mature orchard, we blend regular fertilizer, ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate, calcium nitrate with slow release material, so it's not pure slow release, but it is a blend. And the cost is higher. They're polymer coated slow release. It's not the sulfur coated urea. They're polymer coated. There's your Valencia row over here. And so it's expensive, but the thing about it is, since it's not leaching and you're not losing it to being tied up in the old leaves and unavailable to the young leaves, you can reduce the total amount of nitrogen applied. So the actual cost of the commercial program, which is a slow release conventional blend with different kinds of release points, we just put one out in Wearsdale. It had 3, 6, and 9 month release material in it. Will last till February. The cost of doing that per acre is exactly the same as applying 180 pounds of nitrogen with conventional fertilizer products. Even though the fertilizer is more expensive per ton, the total cost per acre is the same. And for a mature grove, that's about $320 to $350 an acre right now. So in this case, where we're not spraying anything and just fertilizing and herbiciding and mowing, our total production costs on these navels and Valencias that we're looking at here may only be $600 or $700 an acre. And we're relying on Ursatilla to keep the fruit clean from rust mites, which so far is working pretty well. Tamarixia to control psyllids, slow release to help the trees work through greening, and we think we have a fairly successful system. We could add some oil sprays in the summer to take care of miscellaneous pests, a greasy spot spray if necessary, so we could run the production costs up to $800, $900, or even $1,000 an acre. But it shouldn't take any more than that to really grow a very nice grove of the right variety with slow release as the baseline.